Mark had never thought of himself as someone extraordinary. He was just a regular human, living a regular life, working a regular job on Earth. But that all changed the day an unusual invitation arrived. It came not through normal mail or email, but via a shimmering holographic device sent by Ambassador, a being from a distant star system. The invitation was formal, elegant, and impossible to ignore. He was invited to attend a royal wedding on a planet no human had ever visited. When Mark arrived at the spaceport, the scale of the journey hit him. Ships taller than skyscrapers floated like graceful whales in the sky. The air shimmered with strange energy that tickled his skin. He was given a suit that adjusted itself to his body, elegant but strange, made of a material that seemed to flow like liquid metal. His heart raced as he was guided through the alien city, which floated on platforms above a glowing, greenish river. Everything was alive. Colors, lights, even the buildings themselves seemed to move slightly, like they were breathing. The wedding venue was a palace made of crystal-like material, sparkling under a purple and orange sky. Mark could see creatures of all shapes and sizes moving elegantly around the palace grounds. Some had wings, some had multiple limbs, some seemed almost like floating lights with eyes. Mark felt small, almost fragile, as he stepped into this alien world. And yet there was beauty here that made him feel alive in a way Earth had never done. He was greeted politely, though it was clear he stood out. He was human, different, odd, and fascinating to everyone here. Mark tried to keep his composure, but his eyes kept wandering to the crowd, the colors, and the bride. Princess. He had only seen her in photographs, but in person she was breathtaking. Her gown floated around her as if it were made of the planet's own light. Her eyes, large and golden, seemed to hold entire galaxies. Mark felt an odd pull in his chest, a mixture of awe and a strange familiarity, as if he had known her for a lifetime he couldn't remember. The ceremony began with music unlike anything Mark had ever heard. It vibrated through the ground, through the air, and even through his own body. Every guest participated in rituals that seemed at first confusing and impossible to understand. Guests danced in patterns that gravity. Colors moved like ribbons around their bodies. And through it all, Mark felt like an intruder and yet somehow welcome. He found himself standing near a balcony, gazing down at the celebration below. The aliens didn't look at him with suspicion. They looked with curiosity, as if studying a rare specimen, yet not in a threatening way. Mark realized that humans were not ordinary in this universe. They were different, unpredictable, and perhaps even fascinating. He couldn't help but smile, realizing that maybe being human gave him a unique place here. Suddenly, a soft voice broke through his thoughts. "You look different from everyone else." Mark turned, startled. Princess was standing near him, floating slightly above the balcony floor as if gravity obeyed her alone. Her eyes were curious, playful, and warm. "Different in a good way," she added, smiling. Mark blinked. I'm not sure I understand," he said. She laughed softly, a sound that echoed like music through the crystal walls. "Most visitors here try too hard to fit in. They follow every rule, every ritual. But you watch, you feel, you notice things others don't. That makes you interesting." Before Mark could respond, a deep, commanding voice interrupted them. "So this is the human they speak of." King, tall and regal, stepped forward. His golden eyes scanned Mark from head to toe. His presence was overwhelming, yet there was something almost gentle in his gaze. Mark felt fear rise in his chest. The king was the ruler of an entire planet. One wrong move could be disastrous. Yet instead of anger or suspicion, the king's expression softened, almost as if he were studying a puzzle he wanted to solve. "You are unusual," King said slowly, his voice echoing through the hall. "A human, and yet you do not fear what is different. You observe, you adapt. Tell me, would you consider a bond with my daughter?" Mark froze. He wasn't expecting this. A bond with the princess? He was a visitor, a guest. Certainly, he had no place in this world beyond polite greetings, and yet when he glanced at her, eyes sparkled with a mix of amusement and hope. Something inside him stirred, a strange mix of fear and excitement. The crowd was watching. The music faded. The celebration paused. And in that moment, Mark realized his life had changed forever. The human who thought he was ordinary had just been offered an extraordinary path. Mark's mind was spinning. He had come as a guest to witness a wedding, not to become part of one. His eyes kept flicking to Princess, who now stood beside him with a quiet, teasing smile. He felt a strange pull toward her, something more than curiosity or admiration. He wasn't sure what it was, but it made his heart beat faster. "Are humans always so nervous in front of royalty?" asked softly. Her voice had a musical quality, gentle yet firm. She leaned slightly closer, and Mark noticed a faint scent, something like warm sunlight mixed with soft flowers. It was completely alien, yet oddly comforting. Mark laughed nervously. I guess I've never met anyone like you before." Tilted her head, studying him. "I mean, you see the world differently. Most beings here follow rules, rituals, and etiquette. They are careful, polished, predictable. But you notice the small things, you feel things, you understand differently. That is rare, and rare is valuable." Mark felt a warmth in his chest. He didn't know why her words touched him so deeply. It was as if she saw him, not just the human standing awkwardly in an alien palace, but the person he had always been. Curious, flawed, and surprisingly brave when he needed to be. Before he could reply, the hall grew silent. Every conversation, every laugh, every footstep seemed to fade into a hushed anticipation. Mark followed gaze and saw King approaching. His presence filled the room, commanding attention without raising his voice. The king's golden eyes fixed on Mark, and in that instant the young human felt the weight of the entire alien world pressing down on him. "You are the human," the king said, his deep voice echoing like a drumbeat. "The one who has captured my daughter's attention." Mark's mouth went dry. He opened it, then closed it again, unable to form words. He had expected curiosity, maybe questions, but not this. Took a small step forward. "Father," she said gently, "he is different. I have never met anyone like him, and I like him truly." The king's eyes studied Mark carefully. It was not just a look of judgment. It was a test, a probe into the human's character, his courage, his soul. Mark swallowed hard. He knew that one wrong move could offend the king, alienate, or worse. But he also felt a strange surge of confidence, a reminder that humans were capable of things no alien could predict. King spoke slowly, as if choosing each word with care. "In my world, alliances are made for power, wealth, and duty, not for curiosity, not for feelings, not for heart. And yet here you stand. You are small, fragile, yet fearless. You see things others do not. Perhaps humans are not so ordinary after all." Mark's breath caught. The king's words were heavy but not cruel. There was curiosity, respect, and even hope. The human realized that this moment, this strange attention, was unlike anything he had ever faced. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "You would join our family?" King asked. "Would you accept this bond?" Mark looked at. She smiled, gently, patiently, as if she already knew the answer. He felt the weight of the crowd's gaze, the alien eyes full of curiosity, doubt, and expectation. And then something inside him clicked. He didn't know what the future held, didn't know if he could truly belong in this world. But he felt certain of one thing: he wanted to try. I will try," Mark said finally, his voice steady despite the storm of fear and excitement inside him. "But only if she wants the same." His eyes sparkled like starlight. "I do. I have never felt this way before, but I know it is right." A wave of murmurs spread through the hall. Some guests whispered in surprise, others in disbelief. This was not how royal unions were supposed to happen. Humans were unknown, unpredictable, but Mark felt a quiet satisfaction. He had taken a step, uncertain and daring, into a world that was larger and stranger than he had ever imagined. As the music resumed, softer now, more intimate, Mark felt the reality of the situation sink in. He had arrived as a guest. Now he was something else entirely. Noticed, chosen, and whether he was ready or not, part of an alien story much bigger than himself. And for the first time in his life, Mark felt that being human, his instincts, his courage, his heart, might be exactly what this alien world needed. Mark had barely had time to catch his breath after the king's surprising words when reality began to sink in. He was no longer just a visitor. Somehow he had become part of the royal family, even if only in the preliminary sense. The hall, once filled with celebration and music, now buzzed with whispered conversations. Aliens of every shape and color glanced at him with curiosity, suspicion, or outright disapproval. He felt his hand brush lightly against his arm. "Don't worry," she said softly. "Not everyone will understand, but I do." Her voice gave him courage, yet the tension in the room was palpable. Mark knew that what had seemed like a magical opportunity would not come without challenges. The first challenge came almost immediately. A tall, armored alien with 3 eyes approached, his skin a deep shade of violet. His expression was cold, his voice low and commanding. "You are the human the king has chosen?" he asked. "Do you even know our customs, our laws, our ways of showing respect?" Mark swallowed hard. I'm willing to learn, I want to understand, I will respect your customs." The alien's gaze narrowed. "Words mean little, actions prove worth. The princess deserves a protector, a partner. Can a human, so small, so fragile, truly uphold her honor?" Mark felt a flicker of fear, but also a stubborn spark of pride. Humans may not have had wings or multiple limbs, but he had something they did not: adaptability, courage, and a heart that refused to bow to fear. He straightened his shoulders. "I may be small," he said slowly, "but I will not fail her. I will learn, I will try, and I will do whatever it takes to earn her trust and yours." The alien stared for a long moment, then turned away, muttering to others. Mark realized he had passed the first unspoken test. He had shown courage, honesty, and determination. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. Over the next few days, Mark faced countless trials. He had to learn alien etiquette, which was more intricate than any language he had ever studied. One misstep, a bowed head in the wrong angle, the wrong gesture of greeting, could offend a noble or even embarrass the princess. Every meal was a challenge. Each dish contained flavors, textures, or even energies that tested his senses. At first, he stumbled repeatedly, accidentally spilling drinks or choosing incorrect seating arrangements. Each mistake drew whispers and disapproving glances, but was always there, offering gentle guidance, encouraging him with small smiles or a supportive touch. Mark also faced challenges in conversation. The nobles tested him with riddles, philosophical questions, and moral dilemmas, some designed to embarrass him, others to see if his logic was sharp enough to negotiate with other worlds. At times he felt overwhelmed, his confidence shaking, but he refused to give in. Humans had a peculiar way of seeing solutions others could not, and he used that advantage subtly, surprising the council with insights they had not expected. Despite the difficulty, Mark began to earn small victories. A minor noble approached him, nodding with respect. Another, previously skeptical, offered a cautious smile. Even King observed him closely, noting the way the human persisted, adapted, and remained genuine under pressure. But the true challenge was not customs, food, or rituals. It was trust. Could the aliens accept a human not just as an observer, but as someone worthy of being part of their family? Could they see past differences in size, strength, and form to recognize something deeper? Mark realized that being human meant more than surviving tests. It meant showing empathy, courage, and integrity, even when misunderstood or underestimated. One evening, Mark stood on the balcony overlooking the glowing river that ran beneath the palace. The colors of the planet reflected in his eyes as he thought about what had happened. He had arrived as a visitor, uncertain and overwhelmed. Now he had responsibilities, expectations, and the eyes of an entire court upon him. He felt the weight of it all, yet also an unexpected thrill. Appeared beside him, her hand brushing against his. "You are doing more than you realize," she said softly. "You are not just learning customs, you are showing them something new, something only a human can." Mark looked at her, his chest swelling with a strange mixture of pride and humility. He had no idea how this journey would end. He only knew one thing. He would face every challenge, endure every doubt, and fight for this place, this family, and this princess with everything he had. In that moment under the alien sky, Mark understood something profound. Being human was not a weakness. It was a strength. A strength no alien custom, no trial, no doubt could ever take away. Days passed, and Mark began to find his place in the alien palace. What had started as confusion and fear slowly turned into understanding and quiet confidence. He was still the outsider, still human, still fragile compared to these magnificent beings. But he realized something important. Humans had qualities that no alien could imitate. Mark noticed it during one of the formal gatherings. A group of nobles argued over an upcoming interplanetary alliance, their voices sharp and their logic flawless. But the discussion ignored one small, critical detail: the people who would be affected by their decisions. Mark spoke quietly, hesitantly at first. "If you do this, some settlements might not survive. You may lose trust, not gain it." The room fell silent. Aliens were used to cold logic, data, and strategy, but Mark spoke from instinct, empathy, and experience. Slowly, heads turned to him. The king himself raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Mark didn't speak like a diplomat. He spoke like a human, simple and honest, pointing out what others couldn't see because they focused too much on rules, not life. Standing nearby gave him a small, proud smile. "See, you already make a difference," she whispered. Her touch on his arm sent warmth through him. He realized that he was not just surviving these alien challenges, he was excelling in a way that only humans could. As days turned into weeks, Mark's human traits became more evident. He laughed at small mistakes, he admitted when he was wrong, and he treated everyone, noble or servant, with respect. Aliens began to notice. Some still doubted him, especially those who valued tradition above all, but others began to approach him with curiosity instead of suspicion. One afternoon, the king summoned him. Mark's heart pounded as he entered the grand chamber. King was seated, regal as ever, but his eyes held a glimmer of something unexpected: respect. "You have adapted well, human," the king said. "You have endured our tests, learned our customs, and yet you remain yourself. You have something rare, something many of my advisors lack. Courage tempered with compassion, intelligence tempered with heart. This is valuable." Mark swallowed hard. He didn't know if he deserved such praise, but he felt a surge of pride. "Thank you, your majesty. I only want to do right by your daughter and your people." The king studied him silently, then nodded. "Very well. Continue to show us the strength of your kind. Let others see what humans are capable of." Later, as Mark walked through the palace gardens he realized how far he had come. The alien gardens were unlike anything on Earth: plants that glowed softly, vines that floated in midair, flowers that hummed with energy. But for the first time, Mark felt at home here, not because the place was beautiful, but because he had earned a place in it. Took his hand. "You know," she said softly, "humans are fascinating. You are unpredictable yet reliable, strong yet gentle. I think that is why my father respects you and why I feel drawn to you." Mark felt his chest tighten. He had never imagined someone could see him like that, truly see him, beyond the size of his body, the shape of his eyes, the way he spoke. I feel the same," he admitted. "I didn't think I could belong here, but with you, I feel like I already do." Their hands stayed intertwined, a human and an alien, two beings from different worlds standing together under the alien sky. Mark understood something profound. Humans were different, yes, but that difference was power. The ability to feel, to adapt, to see what others ignored, to speak honestly, and to care deeply. These were qualities no alien ritual could teach, no ceremony could command. They were innate. And in that realization, Mark found strength he had never known before. He was small, fragile, and human, but he was also extraordinary. For the first time, he truly believed that he could not only survive in this alien world but thrive, and perhaps even change it, simply by being who he was. Not everyone in the royal court welcomed Mark. While some had begun to respect the human, others whispered behind his back, questioning the king's judgment. "A fragile human cannot understand us," one noble hissed. "He is too small, too weak, too unpredictable." Mark heard the whispers, but he refused to let them shake him. He knew that being human was not about matching strength or size. It was about courage, honesty, and heart. Still, the challenges were real, and the king's trust, though generous, demanded proof. King himself presented the next trial. "You will undergo the ritual of trust," he declared. "It is an ancient test. If you succeed, you will prove yourself worthy of this family. Fail and, well, you will remain only a visitor." The ritual was held in the palace's floating labyrinth, a massive maze suspended above the glowing river that ran beneath the city. The walls shimmered and shifted, changing shape as Mark moved. The labyrinth was designed to test mind, courage, and heart. It was said that only the strongest and most loyal could pass. As Mark stepped inside, the doors closed silently behind him. Shadows stretched and twisted. Strange sounds echoed like whispers from distant stars. The first challenge appeared, a bridge suspended over nothingness, its planks shifting unpredictably. Mark's instincts screamed to stop, to turn back, but he remembered words. "Humans are unpredictable, yet reliable." He stepped forward, one foot, then the other, trusting his balance and intuition. Further in, the labyrinth threw illusions at him. He saw his fears manifest, falling endlessly, losing, failing the king's trust. Each illusion whispered doubts, teasing him to give up. Mark clenched his fists, closing his eyes, and reminded himself of one simple truth. He was human. He had survived challenges before. He would survive this. He would not fail. The final test was the most terrifying. A creature appeared, its form constantly shifting, eyes glowing with alien intelligence. It spoke directly into Mark's mind, questioning his worth. "Why should you be trusted? You are not like us. You are fragile. You are weak. You are human." Mark's heart pounded, but he did not shrink. He looked the creature in the eyes, or at least what passed for eyes, and spoke aloud, his voice firm and steady. "I may be human, I may be different, but I care. I fight for those I love. I will not harm, I will not cheat, I will not leave those who depend on me. That is what makes me strong." The creature paused, its form flickering. Then it dissipated, leaving only a soft glow. Mark exhaled, exhaustion and relief washing over him. He had passed the final test, not with strength, not with alien skill, but with the heart and courage that only a human could have. When he emerged from the labyrinth, the court was waiting. The nobles fell silent as King stepped forward, his golden eyes full of approval. "Human," he said, voice echoing through the hall, "you have shown us the strength of your kind, not in size, not in power, not in skill alone, but in heart, courage, and loyalty. You are worthy of my daughter and of this family." A cheer rose from those who had doubted him, while others simply bowed, acknowledging the truth they could not deny. Mark felt's hand slip into his. She squeezed it gently, eyes shining with pride. "You did it," she whispered. "You were amazing." Mark's chest swelled with a mix of relief, pride, and disbelief. He had faced trials that no human should have had to endure, yet he had prevailed. And in that moment, he realized something profound. Being human was not a limitation. It was a power, a force that could bridge worlds, conquer doubt, and earn respect even in a place as alien and formidable as this palace. For the first time, Mark felt a true sense of belonging. He was not just a guest or an outsider. He was part of something greater, something bigger than himself. A family, a court, a world that had opened its arms to him. And as he looked into his golden eyes, he knew that the journey was far from over. But now he was ready for whatever came next. The days following the labyrinth test were filled with anticipation. The entire court watched Mark closely, eager to see if the human could truly belong among them. Some doubted, some admired, but all were curious. Even King, who had already praised him, observed quietly, his golden eyes calculating, searching for the final proof of Mark's worth. Stayed by his side, her presence a constant source of comfort and courage. "You've already proven yourself, Mark," she said one morning as they walked through the floating gardens. "But this last trial, it is different. It is not about skills or knowledge. It is about heart." Mark nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and excitement. He had faced illusions, creatures, and puzzles. He had survived tests that seemed impossible. Yet he knew this final challenge would test him in ways he could not predict. It was said to be a trial of loyalty, a ritual that could expose the deepest truth about a being's character. When the day arrived, the court gathered in the central hall. The ceiling shimmered with cascading lights, casting reflections across the marble floors. At the center was a pedestal glowing faintly. King stepped forward. "This is the test of commitment," he announced. "It will reveal whether you human are ready to take your place beside my daughter. To pass, you must face the ultimate choice, not of logic, not of strength, but of heart." Mark stepped forward, his chest tight with nerves. He felt the weight of every gaze upon him. The floor beneath him hummed with energy as a vision appeared in front of him. It showed two paths, one filled with comfort and safety, the other with uncertainty, challenge, and potential danger. The voice of the test whispered, "Choose wisely, for your choice defines who you are." Mark's mind raced. The easy path would protect him, keep him safe, and avoid conflict. The difficult path demanded courage, sacrifice, and a willingness to face the unknown. His instincts told him what he must do. He thought of the court and of the trust the king had placed in him. A human's strength was not in avoiding fear, but in facing it. He stepped forward, choosing the uncertain path. The vision shifted instantly, presenting trials he had never imagined. Shadows of doubt, fears of failure, and the whispers of those who had once mocked him surrounded him. Mark felt the pressure, the weight of expectation, but he focused on one truth: he would not falter. He would honor his promise to and to the king. Time seemed to stretch and then fade. When the visions disappeared, Mark found himself standing on solid ground, the glow of the pedestal fading. Silence hung in the hall for a heartbeat, then a cheer erupted. King stepped forward, his expression radiant. "Mark," he said, his voice echoing with authority and pride, "you have done what no one expected. You have shown courage, loyalty, and heart. You have proven that a human's strength lies not in power alone, but in their character." Ran to him, her golden eyes sparkling. "You did it," she whispered, pressing her hand against his chest. "You faced every challenge, every doubt, every fear, and you never gave up." Mark's own heart swelled. He had faced creatures, illusions, customs, and the judgment of an entire alien court. He had been tested in ways humans were never meant to endure. And yet he had succeeded, not because of physical strength or alien knowledge, but because of human courage, empathy, and determination. The court erupted into celebration. Even those who had doubted him could not deny the truth. Mark had earned his place. The king's guards bowed, the nobles nodded in respect, and the palace shimmered with approval. Mark looked at and then at the king. "Thank you," he said simply, feeling the weight of the moment. "I will honor this trust always." King smiled, a rare warmth crossing his stern features. "You are no longer just a visitor, Mark. You are family. My daughter, and through her, the future of this court, welcomes you." As the sun of the alien world set, painting the sky in hues of violet and gold, Mark felt a peace he had never known. He had arrived as a visitor, unsure and fearful. He now stood as a human who had earned respect, love, and a place in an alien world. And as he held his hand, watching the floating lights of the palace gardens shimmer around them, he realized the truth of what he had always suspected. Humans were extraordinary not because of strength, but because of heart. Mark had triumphed, not just over tests, but over doubt, fear, and the limitations anyone had tried to place on him. And in that triumph, he found not just acceptance, but belonging. The day of the final ceremony arrived, and the palace was alive with anticipation. Aliens from across the galaxy gathered to witness not only the wedding, but the confirmation of Mark's place within the royal family. Colors danced across the halls, and the air vibrated with music that seemed to come from the stars themselves. Mark stood beside Princess, his heart pounding, yet filled with calm determination. He glanced at her, her eyes glowing with warmth and pride. "Are you ready?" she whispered. "I am," he said, squeezing her hand. "I'm ready for whatever comes next." The king approached, his golden eyes sweeping over the assembly before resting on Mark. "Today," he said, "we witness more than a union of two individuals. We witness a union of courage, heart, and understanding. We welcome a human into our family, not as a guest, but as a son, a partner, and a bridge between worlds." Mark felt the weight of the words. He had arrived uncertain, timid, and out of place. He now stood as someone accepted, respected, and trusted by a civilization far beyond Earth. Every fear, every doubt, every challenge had led to this moment. And he realized with a deep breath that he had truly earned it. The ceremony began. His hand rested in his, their fingers intertwined as the rituals unfolded. Unlike the formalities he had once stumbled through, this felt right. It felt honest. Every gesture, every vow, every word spoken reflected not just alien customs, but the human spirit Mark carried with him. He spoke from the heart, not the script. When he pledged loyalty to and to the kingdom, he meant every word. The court watched, silent and awed. Aliens who had once doubted him nodded in quiet respect. Even those who had whispered about his fragility could not deny the truth. The human had proven himself. His courage, honesty, and heart had bridged the gap between worlds. King stepped forward, placing a hand on Mark's shoulder. "Mark," he said, his voice warm and commanding, "you have faced every test, every challenge, and emerged worthy. From this day forward, you are my son-in-law, and you are part of this family. Protect, cherish, and honor it, and she always." Tears welled in Mark's eyes, not of fear, but of gratitude and awe. He had traveled farther than any human, had faced trials that no human was meant to endure, and yet he had not only survived, but triumphed. He had discovered that humanity was not weakness, but strength, the kind of strength that could win trust, loyalty, and even love across galaxies. Smiled, her eyes shining with emotion. "Welcome, Mark. Welcome to my world and my heart." He held her close, feeling a profound connection that transcended species, planets, and customs. For the first time, he felt truly seen, truly understood, and truly at home. He realized that being human, imperfect, small, and unpredictable was exactly what made him strong. The ceremony ended with music and celebration, the palace glowing brighter than ever. Guests cheered, lifted their voices in approval, and some even approached to offer respect and friendship. Mark looked around and felt a sense of belonging he had never imagined. He was no longer just a visitor or an outsider. He was part of a family, part of a kingdom, part of a story bigger than himself. As the festivities continued, Mark walked to a balcony overlooking the glowing city below. The alien sky shimmered with colors that seemed impossible, yet beautiful beyond words. He took a deep breath, letting the moment sink in. "I never thought I'd belong here," Mark said quietly, "but now I feel like I was meant to be." Leaned against him, her golden eyes reflecting the lights of the city. "Humans are full of surprises," she said softly. "Even you." Mark smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. He had arrived as a guest. He had faced fear, doubt, and impossible trials. And now he had become part of something extraordinary. He had crossed worlds, conquered challenges, and found love, respect, and family in a place he never imagined. For the first time, Mark understood what it truly meant to belong, not just to one world, but to the universe itself. He had become more than a human. He had become a symbol of courage, heart, and the extraordinary power that humanity carried within. And as the stars shone above the alien horizon, Mark knew that this was only the beginning. A new life, full of promise, adventure, and love, awaited him, and he was ready.